introductions for the podcast, and then you, and then we're going to tell some old stories, some funny ones.
I don't have any funny.
I got a couple of funny ones about you.
Well,
So
I don't know if they're funny, but
say that again, Joe.
I don't know if they're funny, but they're truthful.
Okay. It wasn't funny to you then, but it should be funny to you now. Okay. Hey, welcome to number 18 episode in the podcast. This is the Offline Podcast. I'm your host, John Jackson. Hey, show us some love by hitting that like button. Also, subscribe and join our team. Hit that alert button. Hey, we welcome comments and questions. So visit the offlinepodcast.com. Today is you have those moments when you meet somebody and they really affect your life. This guy really affected my life in more ways than one. So to give you a little background, he attended North Texas State, which is now called University of North Texas.
Correct.
He was a three-time All-Missouri Valley Conference, All-American. They retired his number 75, and he made the College Hall of Fame. Then he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was a first-round pick. He was a fourth pick in the overall draft in 1969. He was Rookie of the Year. He played 13 years with the Steelers. He's got 4 Super Bowl rings. He was a 10-time pro. He was the NFL Man of the Year. He was a Defensive Player of the Year twice. He made the 75th and the 100th anniversary all-time team. Also, he was the NFL 70 All-Decade team. And this great person number is retired by the Steelers. He's the second person in Steelers history. He also is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame and in the Hall of Honor. I would like to welcome to the podcast, Joe Greene. Joe?
Thank you so much.
I was writing this stuff down last night and I literally ran out of space.
Where did you get all that information from?
It's on your Wikipedia page.
Who?
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia.
That is, you have an entire page, Joe, and all that, and actually more stuff that is on there than that.
Yeah.
It's your life history on there.
Hey,
I was
John,
like, huh?
so let me ask you a question.
What's that?
Have you spoken with Mr. Evans?
No. Donald Evans?
No. Yes. I just
No, I
know
haven't spoken to Donald Evans.
become best of friends.
So, Joe, tell everybody why we should become best of friends.
Because when we had one-day practices, you guys fought all the time. And when we had two-day practices, you didn't take a break, you still fought. All the time. I don't know if it was Donald, I don't know if it was you, but you guys were throwing some serious blows.
Yes. And Joe, I'm telling you, it wasn't me. Joe, I can only take so much from people talking and people hitting me. So that's it. It's just me. It's just me, Joe.
Yeah.
So, Joe, let me ask you this. So you were drafted, but let's go back to when you were actually in school. So you were not heavily recruited, huh?
No, I was not. I wrote some letters. I wrote a letter to Texas A&I, that's down in Kingsville.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a letter to New Mexico State, the University of Houston, and to North Texas. And I got an invitation to go to all of those schools, to come to visit.
Right.
And to the University of Houston, that was on my prom night, and I said, I nixed that real quick. You know, I had to go with my date.
Priorities, huh, Joe?
You don't have a whole lot of opportunities. At least I didn't. And
right.
I had a trip to go to Texas A&I, and I was escorted down there by a guy that had played running back for the Houston Oilers at the time. A guy named Sid Blanks that was a running back. Mm-hmm. He was the rookie of the year his first year. He took me down to A&I to introduce me to Coach Gil Stanky, and Coach, who was the head coach. And Coach Stanky introduced me to the one and only Eugene Upshaw.
Really?
Showed me a good time. He gave Eugene $5, which was good. Mm-hmm. Take me out and show me a good time. Gene was sitting on his bed, and he took the $5 and put it on the bed and picked up 50 cents and gave it to me. Said, "Go have a good time."
So is that why you didn't go there?
I'd never let him forget it. Sure didn't.
So what made you chose North Texas?
Well, when I the gentleman that my mother worked for drove me up to North Texas, and the coach's office was in a small building which also housed an elementary school. And the coach's offices were like a triangle shape, single story, single level. And at the front door there was a mirror, a look-through window about 12 by 12 inches. And I looked in there and I saw the coaches lined up. And I excused myself with the guy that brought me up. I went to the restroom, John.
Okay.
And I did about 20 push-ups. I was wearing some denims and I had on a sweatshirt with the sleeves cut off. Mm-hmm. And I broke a sweat. 20 was about all I could do. And I came back to the office, knocked on the door, and they said, "Come in." And when I came in, I filled up the door pretty good, and they said, "You want a scholarship? You got it." That's it. I was weighing about 235 pounds then.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. So in middle linebacker.
You were a middle linebacker?
Yep, I couldn't cover. I had what they call jump covers. Every time they drop back to pass, I get to the middle of my field, I start jumping.
So when did you start playing defensive end?
I started playing defense the spring of my freshman year. During the fall, we had a dining table like you guys had it in Kentucky. And every day at breakfast, man, I had me about 6 eggs and 4 or 5 strips of bacon and donuts. I had a half dozen donuts and a couple of pints of milk. And by the time spring rolled around and they started spring camp, I was 265 pounds. I'd gained 30 pounds, 25 to 30 pounds.
Wow.
Put my hand on the ground. over.
Hey, Joe, I think you would have put your hand on the ground. You don't want to be backing up.
Well, if I would play middle linebacker, I probably wouldn't have made the team. Yeah. But middle linebacker gave me some insight as to how to play, how to go after the football.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you were all conference, and so you must have had a really great senior year, huh?
At UNT, yes.
Yeah.
I had a good sophomore year, which I was Missouri Valley Conference. We were in the Missouri Valley Conference.
Mm-hmm.
I was a defensive player of the year, or sophomore defensive player of the year. And my junior year, I was a defensive lineman player of the year. And my senior year was probably the same. And going into my senior year, I was a preseason Playboy All-American.
Right, I remember they had those.
Fun times.
Mm-hmm. So you get drafted by the Steelers. What did you think about the Steelers? Because at that time they were losing a lot.
Oh, what do you mean? You started to say the right word. They were terrible.
I was trying to be nice. Okay, Joe, they were terrible. See, Joe, that's one thing I love about you. You're honest. You're not gonna hold punches. Yeah.
They had won 2 games the year before I was drafted, and 2 games the year before that. So in the previous 2 years, they had a total of 4 wins. And I think it was a 12 game season.
Right. So what would you say? What would you say made the biggest turnaround besides you?
Chuck Noll.
Chuck Noll. So,
yeah.
So tell me, what did you think about Chuck Noll?
Oh, solid. You know, he was a guy that you can believe in everything he said. I did. Mm-hmm. He was believable. I mean, he'd tell you some things, and like he told you about benchmarks. You know,
right.
he told you that on the offensive line, you had to do your job and block the guy you're supposed to block. He told your wide receivers they had to block also, because he put everything on the quarterback. Running backs had to block when they were called on the block. They had to hit the hole if the hole was there. Mm-hmm. On defense, he told us that eliminating turnovers, quality 3 and outs, if we do those things, we would have a chance to win the ball game. And John, that first year, we won the first ball game. And I don't know if we were watching the benchmarks, but we won it. But nevertheless, we proceeded to lose 13 in a row. We were 1 and after that, you know, we won 3 games, and then we won 4 games. But we started to see, I did, that when we did win, we accomplished some of those benchmarks. Mm-hmm. Now, we didn't change anything offensively other than the personnel over those years. Let me tell you, man, on Tuesdays, our first day of practice, after the game, it looked like you would imagine like it was Grand Central Station, going into a train station, bus station, or airport. There were people all over the place, new faces that you hadn't seen, trying to make your team.
Wow.
They were it was like that. I don't think it was like that so much when you got there. They didn't have
no, it wasn't like that, but I do remember them bringing in a guy named Clinkscale. He went to Tennessee. He was actually in training camp. They brought him for a day, and then at the end of the day, they cut him. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was like,
And
you better get your stuff together.
my first meeting with the Steelers, I held out my rookie year, probably about a month and a half, maybe 2 months, until they played the College All-Star game, which was played first weekend in August.
Okay.
That's when I went. And in that first meeting, Chuck said, our goal is to win the Super Bowl. And there was laughter in the back of the room. That one guy, a running back, he was pointed out and he got cut the second day. The reason for it is that I found out later, after just being around the coach, you had to buy in. If you don't, you're not a believer in what we're trying to get done, you're not going to help us. You can't help the locker room. All you're going to do is be a negative influence in the locker room. So those kinds of guys. So,
well, I know when I came there in '88, I'll never forget, if you were injured, you couldn't stay in training camp.
Yeah.
And they put you in the Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because Chuck didn't want those injured guys affecting the guys who were already there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know,
so you go through all that, and all of a sudden you guys start winning. So when was your first playoff game?
Took 5 years, John.
5 years?
Yeah. Yeah. But what changed is we started getting better players. What we were doing didn't change. My second year, we got Bradshaw, Bradshaw and Mel Blount. Then came the third year, we got Jack Ham. Jack Ham and Dwight White and Ernie Holmes. Yeah, and it started to build. We got the 72 was the third year. We got Franco.
Okay.
Everything changed then. We had a guy that we could give the ball to that took the pressure off the quarterback. Franco was just such a great guy. First one, he was the first guy in practice and the last guy to leave. Yep, Mr. Pittsburgh.
Wow.
You knew how he was in that huddle on the sideline.
Yeah, I saw him.
Dancing and walking. Yeah. You know
he
him.
was pretty geeked up.
Yep. Yeah.
So Joe, what did you get? I know you don't like this. I know you don't like this name, but I got to ask you, where did you get the name Mean Joe Greene?
Well, at North Texas, our colors were green and white.
Oh, the green bean?
Yeah. And we had a pretty good, my sophomore year, we had a pretty good defense. And we played against a team, Texas Western, that is now UTEP.
Okay.
We played those guys. It was kind of I don't want to say it was a rivalry, but it was a revenge game. The prior year, they beat our varsity 63-15 or something like that out there in El Paso. So when we got them, I think it was our first ball game, we held them to a minus 44 yards rushing. And in the crowd, some guys started to chant, "Go Mean Green, go Mean Green, you look so good to me, go Mean Green." And it caught on in the stands. And the wife of our sports information director kind of liked it, and she told him about it. And then the rest is history in terms of North Texas being called the Mean Green. Now, how they got my name involved in it, was when I got to Pittsburgh. You know, they got tired of calling me Joe Who, coming from North Texas.
So they started calling you Mean Joe?
They call me Mean Joe.
So Joe, I didn't know your official name, and it's actually on the your Wikipedia page. It's Charles Edwards Joseph Greene.
See, now if you'd have started that at training camp, it'd have to be me and you fighting.
I'm glad I know you now, Joe. so what, you don't like that name?
Oh yeah.
Now you like it, but back then you would have been fighting.
Yeah, it's grown on me for sure. Well, let me say I've matured a bit.
Matured a bit. Hey Joe, you remember when you were coaching, and you would the day of the game, a couple times you came in the locker room and you said, "Hey, bring your pads, meet me in my office," and me and you sat there and talked about how the week went for me and the things I should do in the game.
I didn't tell you to get mean, did I?
No, you didn't tell me to get mean, but I always remember the one thing you said: don't ever stop working. Even if you got to trip the guy. This is your words. He goes, I could be kicking a guy's butt, but if he stopped, I didn't respect him. But if he kept working, even if he tripped me, I'd respect him. And Joe, I tripped a lot of people after that.
But you guys had a good coach too.
Mm-hmm.
Ron
Black. Coach Black was.
Man,
I had him on the podcast too.
He was a big fan of yours for sure.
Oh,
when we came over to Eastern Kentucky, Coach Kidd, that's all he could talk about. We came over there talking about Aaron Jones, and when we asked about Aaron Jones, he started talking about John Jackson. I didn't pick up on it, but Coach Blacklist did.
Right.
He's the guy that said, we're going to have to get John Jackson. Coach Kidd likes John Jackson. He's the guy that's going to be there when it's all day long. And you were.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Kidd and Coach Blackich. I mean, Coach Blackich, I'll never forget, when you guys were down there, we actually met, and he told me to take this broom and do a squat. So I do a squat, and it's like nothing. And he looks at me, he's like, do that again. And almost literally touched the ground with my butt on a squat. And he's like, how much do you weigh? And I said, I weigh 285. He goes, there's no way you weigh 285.
You look like 45. Huh? You look like 245.
Yeah, I look like 245.
Mm-hmm.
But I could run. But see, when I was recruited by Eastern, I was recruited as a defensive end.
Is that right?
Yeah, I was recruited defensive end, but I didn't want to play defense.
Yeah, that squad was something that Chuck brought to the squad. They said about from San Diego, I think. Mm-hmm. That it was a front squat. You probably held the bar that stick in front instead of over your. And
I went all the way down.
All the way down, bending your knees because that's the way you play. Rise and blow. Rise and blow. Everything that we did was from that squat angle and from the incline press, all of that.
Right. I remember when I first got there, I mean, that's all we did was those front squats. I remember doing 405 on front squats. And seeing stars. Because John Cole could work you out. He could work you out.
Yeah. You guys had a good team, man.
But hey, Joe, so when you left football, you kind of took a little break, and then you came back.
Mm-hmm.
What made you come back to coaching?
Well, what made me come back to coaching is because out in the real world, I was getting clipped, run over. I was getting treated really bad. I couldn't defend myself the way I wanted to. So I said, let me get to something that's more familiar to me. And Chuck gave me an opportunity to coach.
Mm-hmm.
He did. And I was very, very grateful for that. To have an opportunity to coach. I never had, for sure, but I was always trying to give somebody some instructions,
Right.
whether it's from me or not.
I mean, you coached for 17 years.
Yeah, sure did. Longer than I played. I played 13.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you were in the league for 30.
Yeah.
That's a long time, Joe.
Long time. Hey.
I'll never forget too. I remember I saw you in the grocery store once on the north side, and somebody asked you, could you have an autograph? And you reached in your pocket and you took out your magic marker. And I asked you, I said, Joe, how come you won't take that? He goes, hey, I don't know what that ink pen, I don't know what ink pen's been. It might be nasty.
Yeah. Hey.
But I always knew you had something to sign, or you wouldn't go sign it. It had to be in your pocket.
Man, John, when doing training camp, I used to walk past before the morning practice,
Mm-hmm.
have a lunch. I never did sign autographs before lunch because I didn't have a place to wash my hands after I finished signing autographs.
So Joe, how did you like being called Mean Joe Greene?
Well, I struggled with it early on. I kind of did myself in when I kept saying, North Texas is the Mean Green, Green. I spell my name Green.
Right.
Mean. I didn't say mean, but John, probably my second or third game, we played the Giants at Yankee Stadium, and it was probably like 95 degrees in there, and I'm chasing. We were all chasing Fran Tarkenton, and Francis has a way of talking back to you. He'd always tell us defensive linemen, "You missed, you missed." So man, he was getting us upset, got me upset, and I kept chasing him, and I finally hit him, and I started talking back to him. I said, "What do you think about that?" He said, "Yeah, look where you are. I'm 5 yards out of bounds, and by that time I got hit in the head with a penalty flag. I got 15-yard penalty. That's kind of how the name stuck. I got tossed out of a game there at Yankee Stadium in New York, and me saying that I'm not mean, it was just a futile effort on my part.
Right. So what about your first and only interception?
My first and only interception. I got more than one.
Yeah, like they got on the thing was one. I thought you had more than one.
I don't know. I think the first interception that I got, I think was in Cleveland. I had I don't know if that was a fumble or I took the ball from him. But anyway, I did get an interception in the Super Bowl when LC tipped the ball and I picked it up. And as soon as I got it, I thought I was going to run and I got hit.
They were all over me. For me was to be able to communicate and relay to the players what I knew and how I wanted to get over to them. And looking at the player and trying to find out how could I best help them other than giving them what to do. I wanted to be able to relate to them how to get it done. I also wanted to transfer my feelings that I had when we had a chance to win. The feelings that you got that different from just playing football and losing. I went through that. Losing.
Mm-hmm.
And the transformation in me and our team when we started to win. And that's what you're searching for, is to be able to win. And how do you convey that is that in order to win, you have to play together as a team. You can't be selfish as a player. And how do I get that over without preaching and being condescending?
Right.
You know, I didn't want them to put up the brick wall and the words just bounce off. I wanted to be able to communicate in a way that was believable. The way that Coach Noel had communicated to me and the rest of those the guys that he coached, being believable.
Uh-huh. No, I got a real good insight to Coach Noel when you remember when Coach Blackish went. He had some medical issues, and Coach Noel took over the offensive line.
Oh yeah,
doing training camp. Yeah, that was a firsthand of understanding who Chuck Noel was. Chuck could coach.
Yeah,
he really could coach. I mean, it was unbelievable. I mean, some of the things he taught us.
That's what he played in with the Browns when he was an offensive guard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he knew how to do that, and he had a teacher's background, so
Right.
he had a good way of laying the information to you. Yeah.
No, I mean, he did a great job of it, and but then you got you're sitting in those small rooms, you get to know somebody. So we really got to know who Coach Noel was. He cracked a lot of jokes, which we were like, okay, this is not, wait a minute. Are we supposed to laugh? Or are we not supposed to laugh? You know, it was one of those things. The coach is like, if it's funny, damn it, laugh.
Yeah. Well, I had a problem understanding if his joke was funny or not. You know?
We had the same problem too. But the thing is, when he did say something funny, you know, it was like, okay, do we laugh or are we not gonna laugh? And it was like, and that's when he was like, you know what? If it's funny, laugh. I want to hear some laughter. But he was always cracking jokes. And I got to tell you the story that when you scared the living shit out of me was we lost to Cleveland my rookie year, and we were coming back on the bus, and there was two guys back there just having a fucking good time, and we lost the game. And you remember what you told that bus driver?
Oh boy!
This is what you told the bus driver, Joe. Pull the damn bus over. And the bus driver pulled the damn bus over. And you told the two guys, you got two choices. You either get off this bus or you fight me. They got off the bus.
John, I don't believe that. I don't believe that.
I'm telling you. I was like, okay. I was like, oh shit. I got witnesses, Joe. I got witnesses, Joe. They got off the bus. And I was like, after that, I was like, that's what, after every loss we ever had in Pittsburgh, I always thought of you. I was like, Joe Greene might come on his bus and you might get two choices. You might want to take the first one. Get the hell off the bus.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's
You know,
another
John,
funny story. Huh?
Go ahead.
There was another funny story. So we're in practice, and somebody spit on you.
Oh, yeah.
And you went off. And you were like, "I'm gonna look at that film, and whoever it is, I'm gonna come back and whoop your ass." We were like, I'm thinking to myself, whoever spit on him better go over there and pay back a lot of money. It's like, hey, that film's garbage.
He fessed up. After a while, he fessed up. It was Kenny Davidson.
Oh, was it?
He fessed up. It was an accident. He fessed
well, I know
up.
he wasn't. I know he wasn't. Anybody out there wasn't crazy enough to spit on Joe Greene.
But I did. I got a little hot.
Ooh, you were smoking. If steam could come out of your ears, Joe, they might have came out the top of your head as a chimney. That's how hot you were.
Yeah.
That's how hot you were. But I gotta tell you, Joe, you've done a lot as far as your coaching. As far as I never forget when I saw you in Phoenix, and I'm trying to think. When I was playing for the Steelers, and I was like, Joe, I'm ready to get out. And you're like, no, if they're gonna pay you some more money, you might want to stay in this thing. And they kind of you always got me back focused, and I really appreciate that about you.
Man, it's football is, if you're healthy and your team is not getting drugged around across the league and everybody beating up on you, it's a fun thing. It's a fun thing. You enjoy yourself, and I always thought I had a good life of doing something that I love, and we won, and we were winning. When we weren't winning, I'm a sore loser, man. I knew that. John, when I retired, I told Dan Rooney at the time, I said, Dan, this is going to be my last year. And he said to me, he said, Joe, you remember that game in Philadelphia when you played and you threw that ball in the stands? I said, oh my goodness. John, after 13 years, he never said a word. Nobody ever said a word to me about that. I'm thinking, why now? Why now? And he said, Joe, I felt that same way when I threw the ball in the stands, and it was anger and disgust because we had lost the ball game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why some of those antics that I did and I was a part of, that Dan and Chuck, they could tolerate it because it was about trying to win. It wasn't the right way, but it wasn't completely selfish. It wasn't because I wanted some glory.
Mm-hmm.
It was about, and that's why we play, to win and enjoy ourselves. And I knew that you had a love for it when you and Donald used to fight every day, all the time. You can't do that if you don't love the game.
But Joe, I didn't like to lose, which a lot of people don't understand. I don't like to lose at all.
There it is.
I don't like losing at anything. I don't like to lose.
There you go.
It's
a
Joe,
tremendous motivating factor.
It is. So I got to do a shout out to our favorite cigar place, Bell's House of Tobacco. And I'm going to tell you a story about Joe Greene and Bell's House of Tobacco. So, hey, I got a great place for you to buy some cigars, and it's Bell's House of Tobacco. This one is an Avo, which was one of my favorites. And I'm smoking this after this. So go to Bell's, and I guarantee you'll get a fine cigar. And make sure you say, hey, I saw John on his podcast. giving you a shout out. So go to Bell South
Okay.
Tobacco. Yeah.
Is
So,
that
Joe,
is that in
remember?
Fountain
Huh?
Square? Was that in Fountain Square?
No, that wasn't Fountain Square. That was a shop I go to. It's a black guy who owns that. You called him about a box of cigars I gave you, and
Yeah,
you
yeah,
were
I
like,
did.
"Yeah," you were like, "Hey, can I get this box that a friend of mine, John Jackson, gave to me?" And he goes,
Yeah.
"No." He goes, "No, you can't get that box." He said, "It's a limited edition." And you said, "Do you know who I am?" He said, "I'm Joe Greene." And he goes, "I don't care if you're Joe Greene. I can't get that box." He couldn't get that box. It was a
Yeah.
limited edition.
Limited edition. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
those are some great cigars. In fact, I've got a box. I don't have that box, but I got the box. I smoked the cigars, so I kept the box.
Yeah.
That was a great
I
box.
understand.
Uh-huh.
John, I can tell you, man, I probably haven't had a cigar in 10 years.
Is that right?
Yeah, man. That's disappointing too. I must tell you,
Joe,
that's very
sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
I had to quit.
I
I had
know.
to,
That's what you got to do.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Joe. I mean, sometimes you do have to do what you have to do. If you want to stay above ground, sometimes you got to stop doing certain things.
Yeah, I
So
stopped that.
I'm
Man,
I'm
that's
waiting on the day that somebody tells me I got to stop. So then I'll start drinking more.
oh no. Oh no. Hey, I had to put that down too.
You had to put that down too.
I sure
Okay.
did. Sure did.
Well,
Yeah.
hey Joe, what does the Rooney family mean to you?
Um, they're the best. They were the best people that I have ever been associated with. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Dan and Art, Art Senior, old man, Mr. Rooney,
Mm-hmm.
um, Art Junior. You know, they was just special people. Always very, very kind and cordial with me and my family.
Right.
Yeah. Um, I never, I never felt that I was in the wrong place when I was in their company.
Mm-hmm.
I never felt small when I was in their company or angry
Or angry?
or
No, they had
angry.
a way of calming you down, but I love the way they treated people because they treated people like they wanted to be treated.
Exactly. And that's what I said, or angry, because those were the two feelings that I would have in the environment of people.
Mm-hmm.
They would try to make me feel small, which would translate to me getting angry.
Right.
And I never felt those emotions like that. I just, they were just good people. And Chuck, it was just a great organization that uh, they let people do their job. I came after I stopped playing. I was a coach for 9 years, and I was a scout for 9 years. And what I saw all of those tenures was the same: good
Uh-huh.
people, and they treated everybody with respect, all the way down the line, from the locker room attendants to the people out and doing the fields, to the women that worked in the front office, to the people that cleaned up the locker rooms,
Right.
From the starter, the number one guy, Terry Bradshaw, to the guy that hadn't played at all. They treated them all the same, and that's, I don't know how you get to that point other than that's just who you are.
Mm-hmm.
You don't try to do that. That's just something that you are. And I respected that a great deal. John, when I was coaching for the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
And when Dan was inducted into the Hall of Fame, he called me to ask me if I would mind being his presenter. And I said, oh boy. I mean, I was afraid because I wanted to do him right.
Right.
But I was so happy that out of all the people that he had to choose from,
Mm-hmm.
from the commissioner to his family members, to any of the coaches, his kids, politicians, anyone, and he chose me, and I was elated beyond thought.
Right.
But I was nervous too. I was nervous because can I meet the challenge? I mean, I call everybody.
That's something that that you taught me about. Meeting different challenges. That I really respect about you, because you've always talked. When we were always talking, it was always straight, and it was nothing sugar coated, which I loved about you. But I was always afraid of disappointing you, so I was like, I better go work a little harder and stop these defensive guys, even though they're your guys. So, I appreciate that.
Well, let me say this too, John, that you made Donald a pretty good football player. And I think he helped you also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, y'all did. Y'all helped one another. It was combative, because that's in the trenches. That's what you gotta be.
Yeah.
What you gotta be. You have to be combative, and you're gonna win some and you're gonna lose some. That's the way it is.
No, I appreciate you doing this
good.
podcast, Joe. I really do. And
well, it's a pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, sorry about all the difficulty. We were kind of working through some things. And I'll make sure you definitely get this podcast to you after my son edits it.
Please do.
He's got a lot of edit to do in this thing.
A lot of editing.
A lot of editing.
He told me about the picture behind you and both of your sons. That's a good picture, man.
Yeah, I love that. I got that made when I was in Pittsburgh. So it was an artist came to the locker room, and I said, I've got two sons, and it was like, just give me a picture of them, and I'll put you on top of them. So that's always my favorite right there. So hey, listen, hey, I want to thank Joe Greene for doing this today, and this is the Offline Podcast. So make sure you show some love by hitting that like button, but we want you to subscribe and join the team. So if you got any questions about any of the podcasts or the future podcasts, go to offlinepodcast.com. Again, I want to thank the greatest defensive lineman, Joe Greene. Joe, I want to thank you. I'm glad I didn't have to play you, because we would have been fighting. We would have been fighting. We would have been fighting, Joe. We would have been fighting.
Yeah.
Yes, we would have. We would have been fighting.
For
thanks,
sure.
and thank your wife too for hooking you up. You know, she's your producer,
Yes,
so
she
thank
did.
you for
Yes, she's the
doing
producer.
that. And tell her I really appreciate that. And Merry Christmas, by the way, Joe.
Merry Christmas, John. Merry Christmas.
And
you take care
you
and
do
be
too.
safe.
You too.
Don't go out there
God bless you,
hugging
Joe. Thank you.
somebody.
Okay.
Take care.
Take care.
Pleasure.